So I want to show you a very quick workaround for an issue that sometimes occurs when you're using the morph transition in PowerPoint. What I've got on the screen here is a morph transition that actually works perfectly well. So if I show it to you in slideshow mode, you can see that the boxes morph as they should do. But occasionally what happens is that you'll have a morph transition that goes slightly wrong, where object 1 from slide 1 morphs into, say, object 2 on slide 2, and object 2 from slide 1 morphs into object 1 on slide 2. In other words, the objects are morphing into the wrong objects on the second slide. And it's very difficult to reproduce that. So I've not been able to reproduce it on this slide, but I can show you the workaround for if this thing happens to you. So go to your first slide and go to Home and Select and go to the selection pane. And on the selection pane, you'll see the 4 rectangles here on the right hand side. Now, if I go to slide 2, you can see that the rectangles are actually called different names. So on the first slide, they're called rectangle 9, 10, 6 and 5. And for some reason, when I've duplicated it on the second slide, they're called 9, 10, 15 and 14. But that doesn't seem to make a difference most of the time, but occasionally this little issue will crop up. So what you do is select the red rectangle on the first slide, for example, and it's called rectangle 9. So I'm going to leave it as rectangle 9, but what I'm going to do is double click on it and I'm going to put 2 exclamation marks at the beginning of the name. So we've got 2 exclamation marks and rectangle 9 is now the red rectangle. If I go to the second slide and click on the red rectangle, that's also called rectangle 9 in this case. So again, I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to put the exclamation marks at the beginning of that rectangle. That will now ensure that when the morph transition happens, if you've got that issue, those 2 red rectangles will now morph into one another if they hadn't been doing so before. Go back to the slide, let's click on rectangle 5 here. That's the green rectangle, as you can see here. So I'm going to keep it as rectangle 5, put 2 exclamation marks at the beginning, and then on the second slide, click on the green rectangle. And you can see this time it's called rectangle 14. So I do need to make it rectangle 5. It's got to have exactly the same name as the object on the first slide. And that again will now morph into the correct shape. So if ever this issue occurs with you, where shapes are morphing into the wrong shapes, that is the way to get around it.